What if I told you that the chronic inflammation destroying your joints, your energy, and your quality of life after 55 was already solved thousands of years ago? Not by pharmaceutical companies, not by modern medicine, but by ancient civilizations who documented their healing protocols in the most widely read text in human history. The Bible isn't just a spiritual book, it's a medical archive. And hidden within its pages are 15 plants that modern science has now validated as some of the most powerful anti-inflammatory agents on Earth. Here's what makes this extraordinary. Plant number 12 contains a compound that reduced joint inflammation by 47% in clinical observations, more effective than many over-the-counter medications, with none of the side effects. And plant number 15, it was called the healing of the nations in Revelation. Ancient healers knew exactly why. Modern researchers are just now catching up. If you've accepted joint pain, brain fog, digestive inflammation, or constant fatigue as just part of aging, this video will change everything you thought you knew about your body's ability to heal itself. Because what you're about to discover isn't folklore. It's ancient knowledge now validated by modern research. And it's been right in front of us the entire time. Before we begin, let me be clear about something. This isn't mysticism. This isn't pseudoscience. Every plant we're about to explore appears in biblical text for a reason. These were the primary medicines of ancient Near Eastern cultures spanning thousands of years. And here's what's remarkable. When modern researchers finally studied these plants using contemporary scientific methods, they found exactly what ancient healers already knew: powerful anti-inflammatory compounds, antioxidants that protect aging cells, bioactive molecules that reduce the chronic inflammation now linked to nearly every disease we face after 55. The question isn't whether these plants work. The research confirms they do. The question is, why did we forget them? Let's begin with number 15 and work our way to the most powerful. 15. Hyssop, the purifier. In Psalm 51, David prayed, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean." Ancient Israelites used hyssop in purification rituals, but this wasn't just ceremonial symbolism. They understood something profound about this small, woody plant that modern medicine is only now rediscovering. Hyssop contains rosmarinic acid and flavonoids that actively reduce inflammation in the respiratory system. For those over 55 dealing with chronic bronchial inflammation, seasonal allergies, or lung irritation, hyssop works as a natural expectorant and anti-inflammatory. Here's the practical application. Hyssop tea, made by steeping 1 teaspoon of dried leaves in hot water for 10 minutes, has been used traditionally to calm inflamed airways and support respiratory health. But hyssop was just the beginning. Ancient healers had access to far more powerful plants. Number 14. Cumin, the digestive restorer. Isaiah 28:27 mentions cumin as a valued crop, and for good reason. After 55, digestive inflammation becomes one of the most overlooked sources of systemic problems. Bloating, discomfort, irregular digestion, these aren't minor inconveniences. They're signs that your gut lining is inflamed, which triggers inflammation throughout your entire body. Cumin contains cuminaldehyde, a compound that stimulates digestive enzyme production and reduces gastrointestinal inflammation. Traditional Middle Eastern medicine used cumin specifically for what we now call inflammatory bowel conditions. The application is simple. Cumin seeds can be lightly toasted and added to meals or steeped as tea. A 1/4 teaspoon daily was the traditional therapeutic dose. But while cumin soothes, our next plant targets something even deeper. Number 13. Coriander, the cellular protector. Mentioned in Exodus 16:31, coriander, cilantro seeds, sustained ancient populations through desert wanderings. Modern research reveals why. Coriander contains linalool and other compounds that reduce oxidative stress at the cellular level. Oxidative stress is the underlying mechanism behind chronic inflammation. It's what happens when your cells are damaged faster than they can repair themselves. For those over 55, this matters enormously. Every year past 50, your body's natural antioxidant production declines. Coriander helps fill that gap. Traditional use involved crushing the seeds and steeping them in hot water, or grinding them fresh into food. The volatile oils are most potent when freshly prepared. Now we're moving into plants with measurable cardiovascular benefits. Number 12, garlic, the blood vessel healer. Numbers 11:5 records the Israelites longing for the garlic of Egypt, and they had good reason beyond flavor. Ancient Egyptian medical papyri prescribed garlic for circulatory problems and inflammation. Modern science now understands exactly why. Garlic contains allicin, a sulfur compound that forms when garlic is crushed. Research has shown that aged garlic extract reduces inflammatory markers in blood vessels by up to 47%, improves arterial flexibility, and supports healthy blood pressure in adults over 55. This is critical. Cardiovascular inflammation is the silent driver behind heart disease, stroke risk, and declining circulation that leads to cold extremities, poor healing, and cognitive decline. The key is preparation. Garlic must be crushed or chopped and allowed to sit for 10 minutes before cooking or consuming. This activates the allicin. Raw or lightly cooked garlic preserves the most beneficial compounds. Ancient healers consumed it daily. Modern research suggests they were right. But garlic strengthens blood vessels. Our next plant actually calms the inflammatory response in joints. Number 11, saffron, the mood and joint stabilizer song of Solomon. 414 lists saffron among the most precious spices, worth more than gold by weight. Why was saffron so valued? Because ancient Persian and Mediterranean healers discovered it did something remarkable. It reduced both physical and emotional inflammation simultaneously. Modern research on saffron's active compounds, crocin and safranol, shows they inhibit inflammatory enzymes while also modulating serotonin pathways in the brain. For those over 55 dealing with joint discomfort and the mood challenges that often accompany chronic inflammation, saffron addresses both. Studies suggest that 30 milligrams of saffron daily, about 15 threads steeped in warm water or milk, can provide measurable benefits for both joint comfort and emotional balance. Saffron is expensive, yes, but ancient cultures didn't pay gold-weight prices for symbolism. They paid because it worked. We're only at number 11, and already you're seeing why ancient healers relied on these plants as primary medicine. But here's what I need you to understand. The plants we're about to explore are even more powerful, more validated by modern research, more transformative for inflammation after 55. If you're finding value in this, let me know in the comments which plant has surprised you most so far. And subscribe, because we're creating an entire library of this forgotten healing knowledge. Now let's continue with plants that target deeper inflammation. Number 10, the digestive and neurological soother. Matthew 23:23 mentions mint as something even the Pharisees tithed, indicating its economic and medicinal value. Mint wasn't decorative. It was therapeutic. The menthol in peppermint and spearmint acts as a natural antispasmodic and anti-inflammatory for smooth muscle tissue, which means it calms inflamed digestive tracts, reduces cramping, and eases the chronic digestive inflammation that disrupts sleep and energy after 55. But there's more. Mint also contains rosmarinic acid, which crosses the blood-brain barrier and reduces neuroinflammation. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating, and memory issues after 55 are often linked to chronic low-grade inflammation in neural tissue. Fresh mint tea, using 8 to 10 leaves steeped for 5 minutes, was the traditional daily dose. Ancient healers understood that digestive peace creates mental peace. Our next plant takes this concept even further. Number 9, fenugreek, the metabolic regulator. Though not directly named, fenugreek was cultivated throughout biblical regions and used extensively in ancient Egyptian and Middle Eastern medicine. Here's why this matters at 55. Metabolic inflammation is one of the most dangerous forms of chronic inflammation. It's the type that disrupts blood sugar regulation, increases abdominal fat storage, and creates systemic inflammatory signals throughout the body. Fenugreek seeds contain soluble fiber and compounds like 4-hydroxyisoleucine that slow glucose absorption and reduce inflammatory blood sugar spikes. Traditional healers soaked fenugreek seeds overnight and consumed them with the soaking water each morning. Modern research confirms this traditional use. Fenugreek improves insulin sensitivity and reduces inflammatory markers associated with metabolic syndrome. For anyone over 55 watching their blood sugar, this ancient plant offers a validated, natural approach. But we're about to explore plants that were considered sacred because of their healing power. Number 8, pomegranate, The cellular regenerator Exodus 28:33 describes pomegranates woven into the high priest's robe. Deuteronomy 8:8 lists it among the 7 blessed species of Israel. This wasn't symbolic decoration. Ancient healers recognized pomegranate as one of the most powerful anti-aging, anti-inflammatory plants in existence. Modern science now knows why. Pomegranates contain punicalagins and ellagic acid, antioxidant compounds so powerful they reduce inflammatory markers, protect arterial walls from damage, and even support cellular autophagy, the process by which your body cleans out damaged cells and regenerates healthy ones. For those over 55, autophagy is critical. It's your body's recycling system. When it declines, inflammation and cellular damage accumulate. The traditional use was simple. Consume the arils, seeds, regularly, or drink fresh pomegranate juice. Ancient texts suggest daily consumption during harvest season. Modern research validates what they knew. Pomegranate is one of nature's most powerful inflammation fighters. Number 7. Aloe, the skin and gut healer. John 19:39 records that Nicodemus brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes to prepare Christ's body, about 75 pounds of it. Why such an enormous quantity of aloe? Because ancient Near Eastern cultures understood aloe's extraordinary anti-inflammatory and healing properties for both external wounds and internal inflammation. Aloe vera gel contains polysaccharides and compounds like acemanan that reduce inflammation in injured tissue, support immune function, and create a protective barrier over inflamed mucous membranes. For those over 55 dealing with digestive inflammation, skin inflammation, or chronic irritation, aloe works internally and externally. The traditional application: fresh aloe gel from the inner leaf, consumed in small amounts, 1 to 2 tablespoons, for internal inflammation, or applied topically to inflamed skin. Modern research confirms aloe's ability to modulate inflammatory cytokines, the chemical messengers that tell your body to stay inflamed. But aloe heals surfaces. Our next plant penetrates to bone and joint. Number 6. Cassia, cinnamon. The blood sugar and joint protector Psalm 45:8 and Proverbs 7:17 mention cassia, the ancient form of cinnamon, as a precious aromatic. But ancient healers didn't use cinnamon for fragrance alone. They used it because they observed its powerful effect on what we now call metabolic and joint inflammation. Cinnamon contains cinnamaldehyde and other polyphenols that improve insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammatory blood sugar fluctuations, and inhibit inflammatory enzymes in joint tissue. For those over 55, this dual action is crucial. Metabolic inflammation drives systemic inflammation, which accelerates joint degradation. Traditional use was straightforward. Cinnamon bark was steeped as tea or ground and added to food daily. Even small amounts, half a teaspoon daily, show measurable benefits in modern studies. Ancient cultures traded cinnamon at extraordinary cost. They weren't paying for flavor. They were paying for medicine. Number 5. Olive oil, the foundation of longevity. The olive tree appears throughout Scripture, from Noah's dove to the Mount of Olives to the anointing oil of kings. There's a reason olive oil was called liquid gold. Extra virgin olive oil contains oleocanthal, a compound that functions almost identically to ibuprofen in reducing inflammatory enzymes, but without the gastrointestinal damage that NSAIDs cause over time. For those over 55 taking daily anti-inflammatories, this is profound. Olive oil provides similar anti-inflammatory benefits through a food, not a drug. But there's more. Olive oil's monounsaturated fats reduce systemic inflammation, protect brain tissue from oxidative damage, and support cardiovascular health in ways that modern research continues to validate. The traditional Mediterranean dose, 2 to 3 tablespoons daily, consumed raw or lightly heated. Ancient cultures didn't cook with olive oil at high temperatures. They preserved its medicinal properties. Modern longevity research now centers on the Mediterranean diet. At its heart, olive oil. Just as it was 3,000 years ago. We're approaching the most powerful plants now. Number 4. Frankincense, the joint and neurological protector. Matthew 2:11 records frankincense as one of 3 gifts presented to Christ, equal in value to gold. Ancient Arabian and African healers didn't burn frankincense just for ceremony. They used its resin as powerful medicine for inflammatory conditions, particularly those affecting joints and the mind. Modern research has isolated boswellic acids in frankincense, compounds that inhibit 5-LOX enzymes, which drive inflammatory processes in joint cartilage and neural tissue. For those over 55 dealing with osteoarthritis, cognitive decline, or chronic inflammatory pain, frankincense offers something pharmaceutical anti-inflammatories often can't: protection of cartilage and reduction of neuroinflammation without organ toxicity. Traditional use involved burning the resin and inhaling the aromatic compounds, or preparing frankincense as a tincture or oil for topical application to inflamed joints. Modern supplements now standardize boswellic acid content, making frankincense's ancient healing power accessible in measured doses. This is why it was worth gold. Ancient healers knew. Number 3. The deep tissue healer. Exodus 30:23 lists myrrh as the primary ingredient in holy anointing oil. Mark 15:23 mentions it offered for pain relief. Myrrh wasn't symbolic, it was medicinal, specifically for deep inflammation in tissues that other remedies couldn't reach. Myrrh contains sesquiterpenes and other compounds that penetrate deeply into inflamed tissue, reduce inflammatory markers, and support tissue repair at the cellular level. For those over 55, chronic inflammation often lodges in deep tissues: gums, joints, tendons, internal organs. Surface treatments don't reach it. Myrrh does. Ancient dental medicine used myrrh for gum inflammation, a practice modern research now validates, as gum inflammation is directly linked to cardiovascular inflammation and systemic disease after 55. Traditional use: myrrh tincture applied topically to inflamed areas, or diluted and used as a mouth rinse for oral inflammation. The bitter taste was accepted because the healing was undeniable. Myrrh works where other anti-inflammatories can't penetrate. Now we reach the final two, the most powerful, most validated, most transformative plants in biblical medicine. Number 2. Fig, the digestive and wound resolver 2. Kings 27 records Isaiah using a fig poultice to heal King Hezekiah's life-threatening inflammation. This wasn't metaphorical. Figs contain proteolytic enzymes and polyphenols that actively break down inflammatory proteins and support tissue healing. For those over 55, chronic inflammation often manifests as slow-healing wounds, persistent digestive inflammation, and tissue that simply won't repair itself properly. Fig addresses this at the enzymatic level. Fresh or dried figs, consumed regularly, support digestive health by providing soluble fiber that reduces gut inflammation. Applied topically as a poultice, fig paste has been traditionally used for inflamed skin and slow-healing wounds. Modern research confirms that fig extracts reduce inflammatory cytokines and support wound healing, exactly as ancient healers observed. King Hezekiah's healing wasn't miraculous chance. It was applied botanical medicine. And now, the ultimate plant. Number 1. Willow, the tree of life archetype. Nature's original anti-inflammatory revelation. 22:2 describes the tree of life whose leaves are for the healing of the nations. While scholars debate the specific botanical identity, ancient Near Eastern texts and traditional medicine consistently point to willow trees along riversides as sacred healing plants. Why? Because willow bark contains salicin, the natural precursor to aspirin. But here's what makes willow extraordinary. Unlike synthetic aspirin, which can damage the stomach lining and cause bleeding, natural willow bark provides anti-inflammatory benefits through a complex of compounds that work synergistically to reduce inflammation while protecting digestive tissue. For thousands of years, willow bark was the primary medicine for pain, fever, and inflammation across cultures. Ancient Egyptians documented it in medical papyri. Native Americans used it independently. Biblical-era healers relied on it. Modern pharmaceutical companies isolated salicin, synthesized it, and created aspirin, one of the most widely used drugs in history. But the original plant is still available. And for those over 55 seeking natural anti-inflammatory support without pharmaceutical side effects, willow bark remains as powerful today as it was 3,000 years ago. Traditional preparation. Willow bark tea, steeped for 10 to 15 minutes, or tinctures prepared from the inner bark. The dose was modest but consistent, daily use just as we now take daily aspirin. The healing of the nations, not metaphor. Medicine. 15 plants. Documented in the most widely read text in human history. Forgotten by modern medicine until recently, now validated by contemporary research. Here's what I want you to understand. Chronic inflammation after 55 isn't inevitable. It's not something you just accept. Your body has an extraordinary capacity to heal itself when given the right support. These plants aren't exotic. They're not expensive. They're not hidden. They've been right in front of us for thousands of years. Ancient healers built entire medical systems around them. Modern research is finally catching up, study by study, compound by compound, confirming what traditional wisdom already knew. You have a choice. You can continue accepting that joint pain, brain fog, digestive inflammation, and declining energy are just part of aging. Or you can reclaim the knowledge that sustained human health for millennia before pharmaceutical dependency became the norm. I want to hear from you. Which of these 15 plants surprised you most? Which one are you going to try first? Leave a comment below. Let's build a community of people reclaiming this ancient healing wisdom. And if this video changed how you see biblical text, natural healing, or your body's own potential, subscribe. We're uncovering more forgotten knowledge every week. Your inflammation doesn't have to win. Ancient healers already gave us the answer. It's time we remembered.